And that ends here with Music Soul with Asphere. Come back here tomorrow for more energetic pop music. Right here on Cool FM. Mapapakul ka dito. Lahat ng drama, lahat ng tawanan, lahat ng iyong all-time hits. Ang tanging huntahan ng Masang Lamaw. Number 1 sa Mega Manila, nationwide pa. Broadcasting from TGON, TVH Group of Networks. Dito lang sa inyong iisang himpilan. Cool FM. You are listening to Cool FM, live from Cool Studios. This is koolNews at noon.
Good afternoon and welcome to koolNews at noon. I'm Kyle. Let's begin with the headlines. Senator Robin Padilla has filed a petition with the Supreme Court seeking to resolve key issue in the 1987 Constitution. Specifically, he wants to resolve whether both houses should vote jointly or separately during discussions on the Charter's amendments. Padilla presently appeared before the Supreme Court's main building on Monday and filed an instant petition seeking declaratory relief on Sections 1 and 3 on Article 17 of the Constitution. The Senator chairs the Senate Committee on Constitutional Amendments and Revision of Codes. According to Supreme Court, a declaratory relief is a special civil action filed by any person interested under a deed, will, contract, or other written instrument, or whose rights are affected by a statute, executive order, or regulation, ordinance, or any other governmental regulation. Based on the statement sent by Padilla's office, the petition seeks an authoritative declaration of the high tribunal on the following constitutional issues: whether or not the Senate and House of Representatives should jointly convene as a constituent assembly when proposing amendments to or revisions of the Constitution under Section 1, Article 16 of the Constitution. When voting jointly, should the requirement of 3 out of 4 vote under Section 1 be treated as 3 out of the 4 by the Senate plus 3 out of the 4 by the House, and or 3 out of the 4 by the 24 senators with all members of the House of Representatives. Whether the Senate and House should jointly convene and assemble when voting for calling a constitutional convention and or submitting to the electorate the question of calling such a convention. When voting jointly, if the requirements of two-third vote under Section 3, Article 16 be treated as two-third vote in the Senate plus two-third vote in the House, or two-third vote of all 24 senators and all members of the House. When voting jointly, should the requirement of majority vote under Section 3, Article 17, I think, be treated as a majority vote in the Senate plus a majority vote in the House, or a majority vote of all 24 senators voting with all members of the House. Padilla said he could not carry out his functions as chairman of the Senate committee due to the ambiguities of the provisions mentioned above. He added that only the Supreme Court has the power to address what he called existing actual controversy. As we have witnessed, the leadership of the executive branch and the legislative branch have come together to address these issues, Padilla said. These two branches, however, on their own cannot resolve these constitutional issues by themselves, he explained. Without the Honorable Court's declarative pronouncements, these questions, as well as the unstable relations between the two houses of Congress, shall persist, he added. Cordelia also mentioned that many resolutions seeking to amend the Constitution were also previously filed but remain pending before both chambers' committees. On March 20, the House of Representatives approved on the third and final reading the resolution of both houses, number 7, a proposal to amend the 1987 Constitution's economic provisions. This resolution was patterned after the Senate's RBH number 6. Meanwhile, RBH number 6 is still pending in the upper chamber. Researchers from the University of the Philippines, Manila have developed a new test kit that can be used to detect selected new psychoactive substance, more commonly known as designer drugs and other pharmaceuticals, which cause poisoning. The ETOX-T or point of care testing test kit uses urine samples and is available in two models, ETOX NPS, which can detect designer drugs such as ketamine, synthetic cannabinoids, and synthetic catinones, and ETOX uh, PX, which looks for pharmaceuticals such as paracetamol, a popular medicine for mild to moderate pain, isoniazid, and antibiotic use against tuberculosis, and salicylates, including aspirin, a commonly used drug for pain and fever. Dr. Eileen Wybes, the project leader, who is also a professor at UPM College of Medicine's Department of Pharmacology and Toxicology, said there was a need for a portable, user-friendly, and cost-effective point-of-care testing device in emergency settings. Existing testing platforms for pharmaceuticals and NPS detection are often lab-based, costly, and require hazardous chemicals, making them inaccessible and impractical for emergency or bedside toxicology, she added. At the moment, the country has no test kits that detect NPS. The eTox NPS will be very useful because there is no POC screening kit for NPS available for use here. NPS is also not yet included in the drug abuse panel in the Philippines. Local screening tests are limited to traditional illicit drugs such as fentanyl and cannabinoids, Yabes said. She pointed out, however, that ETOX and PS should be used only for screening and initial tests to check for the presence of designer drugs. A more specific and sensitive method will be needed to confirm the presence of NPS in the urine, she added. Wybes said the final cost of the prototype ETOX U kit, excluding labor, was 88.10 pesos. Current drug tests conducted in laboratories range from 200 to 1,000 pesos, but these screen only for traditional illegal drugs such as methamphetamine, found in Shabu, and cannabinoids found in marijuana. Other units may cost from between 110 pesos in public hospitals to as much as thousands of pesos for a complete package of procedures. The test kits have an estimated shelf life of 8 months as long as the recommended storage conditions are followed. Both models have undergone validation and demonstrated acceptable performance characteristics in terms of limit of detection, accuracy, precision, sensitivity, specificity, and predictive values based on standards tests by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, Clinical and Laboratory Standards Institute, and International Organization for Standardization. According to data gathered by the UP Philippine General Hospital National Poison Management and Control Center, pharmaceutical agents remain the top cause of poisoning, accounting for 35.5% of inpatient referrals. Paracetamol is the main cause of poisoning, not only accidentally but also non-accidentally or deliberately, Yepes said, noting that paracetamol poisoning is a pressing issue worldwide. NBS and PSA abuse is also a growing problem in different parts of the world, with authorities having to keep up with new regulations for clandestinely sold substance. The UNODC reported that 1,242 NPS were in circulation, while data from the Philippines showed that out of 74 samples for NPS poisoning, 41 cases involved NPS, with catinones being the predominant class. The development of the test kits was supported by various funding agencies, including the Dangerous Drugs Board, The Department of Science and Technology Philippine Council for Health Research and Development, and the UPPGH First Director's Innovation Grant. Clinical validation for ETOX MPS is expected to be concluded by October, while it is ongoing for ETOX PHX. The developers have applied for a patent with the Intellectual Property Office. Wipers said the research team was looking for partners for the manufacturing and commercialization of the portable drug test kits. They are also in need of additional funding for clinical validation studies and the development and optimization of injection molded prototypes. Aside from Yapes, other members of the team who developed the test kits are UPM professors Dr. Noel Ming and Sarah Johnson as co-investigators, and university researchers Gabriele Pangjunasan, Andrew Octa, and Jessica Duresta as project staff. It is now 9:11. Sorry, I got it wrong. It is now 12:11 in the afternoon, and Cool News at noon. We'll be right back.
A better mix of music. Cool FM.
Welcome back. Okay, give me a second, guys. Okay, welcome back to koolNews at Noon. Let's continue with the headlines. The easiest way to stop the transfer of 89.9 billion pesos from the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation PhilHealth to fund other government projects is for President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. to simply issue an order, according to Senate Minority Leader Aquino Pimentel III. Yes, that is the easiest way, he said in the radio interview on Sunday. But if we have to wait for the next SONA, that would be too long, he said, laughing. It looked like the president was waiting for a dramatic special announcement and made in the SONA. The next SONA is still a long time. Pimentel was referring to Marcos' third SONA, where he announced his decision to ban Philippine offshore gaming operators' focus in the country. In an earlier statement, Pimentel said he was disarmed over the president's decision on POGOs, saying Mr. Marcos listened to the overwhelming sentiment of the Filipino people and that it was his best SONA so far. The Senate leader and health advocates on Friday asked the Supreme Court to block the diversion of PhilHealth's excess funds. The petition for a temporary restraining order was sought against Department of Finance Circular Number 003-2024, which ordered the transfer of billions of unused PhilHealth funds for unprogrammed appropriations. The petitioner cited several alleged constitutional violations in the fund transfer, including the insertion of a rider in the 2024 national budget to justify the fund transfer. That move to transfer the fund itself was already unconstitutional because it exceeded Congress' power to appropriate funds. The transfer also cannot amend the provisions of the Universal Healthcare Act on PhilHealth, it added. The petitioners noted that the national budgets from 2021 to 2023 did not have such a provision that allowed excess reserve funds of the government-owned and controlled corporations to be returned to the National Treasury, saying this was the first time it was inserted in the General Appropriations Act. The DOF circular issued in February was reportedly in compliance with the 2024 budget law, directing the Finance Department to issue guidelines to implement the collection of unprogrammed appropriations sourced from the fund balance of GOCCs. But Pimentel, in a radio interview, questioned why the DOF apparently singled out PhilHealth among the GOCCs. They should not target the PhilHealth fund. Why don't they execute their legal basis to other GOCCs? They can find other GOCCs, he said. The DOF earlier defended its directive for GOCCs, including PhilHealth, to remit unused subsidies to the National Treasury, say the excess money can be used to fund projects to help boost the economy. Of the 89.9 billion pesos, 20 billion pesos has been transmitted to the National Treasury, while the rest will be released gradually, Finance Secretary Recto said earlier. But PhilHealth's money is meant to be spent for the health of the people, not for the health of the economy. That's very different. The health of the economy is just a prediction. We don't even know whether or not the economy will get healthy. But the money of PhilHealth comes from the contribution of its members. So the reserve funds belong to the members, Pimentel said. The House of Representatives has formally started deliberating the 6.3 trillion pesos proposed national budget for 2025 at the committee level. Speaker Ferdinand Martin Romualdez initially presided over the hearing. The House Committee on Appropriations began its briefing on Monday at the plenary hall, with the Development Budget Coordination Committee being scrutinized first. The BCC is composed of the Department of Budget and Management, Department of Finance, National Economic and Development Authority, Office of the President, and the Bangko Sentro ng Pilipinas. Particularly, the DBCC will be quizzed about how they formulated the National Expenditures Program and their funding source. Romeo Aldis, in his opening speech, said crafting the national budget is a critical tool for steering a country's development path. As we proceed, we are fortunate to have the opportunity of listening to our esteemed guests as they elucidate on the process of formulating the 6.352 trillion pesos National Expenditure Program, he told lawmakers. The proposed 2025 national budget is anchored on the theme Agenda for Prosperity, fulfilling the needs of and aspirations of the Filipino people, he noted. According to Romeo Aldis, education will be a priority along with other sectors like public works, health, local government, defense, and transportation. On top of the priority list is education with an allocation of 977.6 billion pesos, public works with 900 billion pesos, health with 297.6 billion pesos, interior and local government with 278.4 billion pesos, defense with 256.1 billion pesos, social welfare with 230.1 billion pesos, agriculture with 211.3 billion pesos, transportation with 180.9 billion pesos, the jewelry with 63.6 billion pesos, and justice with 40.6 billion pesos, he said. After the DBCC, Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation and the Philippines Charity Sweepstakes Office contribution to the budget will be discussed on Tuesday, April 6. As of Monday, here are the agencies scheduled to appear before the Committee on Appropriations and their corresponding dates. August 7 will be Department of Environment and Natural Resources, Department of UN Settlements and Urban Development. August 8 will be Department of Energy, Energy Regulatory Commission, Commission on Higher Education. August 1 will be for Department of Agriculture. August 3 will be for Department of Foreign Affairs, Commission on Audit. August 14 will be for Department of Trade and Industry. August 15 for Department of Agrarian Reform, Office of the Vice President, Department of the Interior and Local Government. August 20 will be for Department of Migrant Workers, Department of Tourism. August 22 will be for Department of Labor and Employment, Department of Information and Communications Technology, Department of Social Welfare and Development. August 27 for Civil Service Commission, Office of the Ombudsman. August 28 will be for Department of Transportation. August 29 will be for Commission on Elections, Commission on Human Rights, Department of Science and Technology. September 2 will be for Department of Education. September 3 for Office of the President, Presidential Communications Office. September 4 for Department of Health. September 5 for the Judiciary, Department of Justice, Department of Public Works and Highways, and September 9 for Department of National Defense. The proposed 2025 budget was transmitted to Congress last July 29, the earliest that the executive under President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. sent an NEP to the legislature. Under the 1987 Constitution, the executive is given 30 days after a president's State of the Nation address to submit the NEP to Congress. And and finally, in international news, nearly 100 people were killed and hundreds more injured Sunday as renewed anti-government protests swept across Bangladesh, with protesters calling for the prime minister to resign and the prime minister accusing him of sabotage and cutting off mobile internet in the bid to quell the unrest. The country's leading Bengali language daily newspaper, Prontam Alo, said at least 95 people, including at least 14 police officers, died in the violence. The Channel 24 news outlet reported at least 85 deaths. The military announced that a new curfew was in effect Sunday evening for an indefinite period, including in the capital, Dhaka, and other divisional and district headquarters. The government had earlier imposed a curfew with some exceptions in Dhaka and elsewhere. Demonstrators are demanding Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's resignation following protests last month that began with students calling for an end to a quota system for government jobs. Those demonstrations escalated into violence that left more than 200 dead. As the renewed violence raged, Hasina said the protesters who engaged in sabotage and destruction were no longer students but criminals, and she said the people should deal with them with iron hands. Also Sunday, the government announced a holiday from Monday to Wednesday, courts were to be closed indefinitely. Mobile internet service was cut off, and Facebook and messaging apps, including WhatsApp, were inaccessible. And that's it for koolNews at noon. As always, you can get in touch with us at tvh.philippines.news@gmail.com. And we will be back with more headlines later with koolNews at 4 for 30 minutes and koolNews at 6 for an hour and koolNews prime time for 30 minutes at 9. Until then, I am Cairo and we will see you later for more headlines at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Goodbye for now.